All right. Welcome, everybody, to a tradition. Unlike any other, it is the finest sports football happy hour. Gentlemen, it's good to see you again.
Cheers.
Good to see you, Ted.
Another week. Another week. We want to raise our glasses here, do a little toast. Good to see you guys. Another week of football. What's everybody drinking?
I got another Oktoberfest, another Marzen from a
Oh, nice.
local brewer here, Prost. They specialize in German beers, and it's fantastic. Gets all the complexity you want in a Marzen, malty, but kind of something that lingers on the tongue a little bit. Really big fan of Prost.
I think it's
beer.
pronounced Prost. So I
Okay,
just don't
that's
know.
right.
I don't know if you know that. I'm 0% German, but
A little more throat
I mean,
into
I
it.
just, yeah. Okay. Teddy, what are you drinking, man?
Today I have the Costco Kirkland brand Scotch blended whiskey, 12-year-olds, and it tastes very similar to a Johnny Black, and it is quite enjoyable for its large format availability. I did want to take one moment here to say today was like the coolest day that we've had on the East Coast, or at least in the New York area, in a long time. And I thought it was ironic because where last week I was jumping onto the pumpkin bandwagon because I was ready for it. Today I was like, I have to drink all of my summer shandies. Like maybe I'll just blast through all of the summer things now because like it's over. And I still have several of them left. So I almost did a summer in the middle of November or whatever month we're in now. But I think we'll have another Indian summer coming up somewhere.
For sure. You know that at the end of September, early October, it's going to be 95 degrees and we're all
Yeah.
going to be sweating, wearing jeans and flannels. So it's perfect. All right.
Mike.
My glass tonight, also drinking brown, but it's a bourbon, unlike Teddy's Costco Scotch. This is a cool little find I found. It's called Three Chords 12 Bar Reserve. This is hands down like one of the best bourbons I've had in the last 2 years. It is on the front, you're getting very smooth bourbon, but then on the back end, it's just, hey, like high alcohol, roughly, I think it's like 94 proof, but it's a lot of flavor, nice pepper, caramel, awesome. I recommend it to anyone. This is actually the first batch. So this is really cool to have this and try something new.
Wow, that's crazy.
Did
First
it on the
batch.
first try.
Yeah, where'd you
Good
pick
for
it
them.
up?
Little Brothers in Flemington.
Very nice.
So yeah,
What about you,
they
Connor?
always have some decent stuff.
I
Trogs.
What fell off the truck this year?
Yeah, what strokes are you drinking?
this week, Tequila Paloma from Cutwater fell off the truck. So that's
very
what
nice.
that's what we're getting into.
Cool.
But now that we've talked about our beverages, we want to get into something a little bit different this week. Matt's got a little news section segment he's going to do for us. So Matt, you want to take it away?
Yeah, nebulously called First and 10. 10 minutes, 10 news stories, and we'll just kind of power through them, and we'll get some immediate reactions from the panelists here. News, notes, rumors from training camp, and maybe a little bit beyond. So we'll get into it right now. First thing, David Montgomery was carted off the field Wednesday with a groin injury. He sustained it during a non-contact drill. As a rookie, Montgomery almost rushed for 900 yards and 6 TDs. Obviously, it's a big impact for the Bears. They have Tariq Cohen and Cordero Patterson on their roster. But I'm wondering from you guys, does this have an impact on where you draft him in fantasy? Yes or no?
I mean, yes is the obvious answer. Like it's a groin injury. They're saying that it's going to be a little more significant. Of course, he's getting more tests for further results. But yeah, I mean, he was going in what, 8th round, just about, was his ADP. So yeah, you can't.
So that's a unanimous yes, it affects where you draft David Montgomery. Moving on, Adam Gase reportedly pulled Le'Veon Bell from practice on Wednesday, and he called it a tight hamstring. But Le'Veon Bell quickly tweeted afterwards that ain't nothing wrong with my hamstrings. And it's tough to stay loose when you do a bunch of standing around. I'm used to going with 3 Gs, all capitalized. Is this something? Is this going to be anything for you guys, or is this just one of those things that pops up in training camp and we're in a slow news cycle? Ted, what do you think?
I'm a big thumbs down on this one. They're just playing ultra conservative. I get it. The training camp is short. There's no preseason games. Bell wants to play. He has something to prove this year. And I think they are saying be cautious don't aggravate the injury. But we're not talking about this on week 1.
Mike and Connor disagree. Connor, what do you think?
So I think it is definitely something, because it's always something with the Jets. This is just a continuing like thread that Teddy's thinking about this from like the paradigm or just the frame of mind as a Steelers fan. Like, oh, this guy played for my team and we know how to just handle these
It'll
things.
work out.
This is the Jets, Teddy. This is definitely going to be an issue all season long. God damn it.
No doubt.
Wait to talk about the beat. All right, Mike, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Well, it's not a full like disagreement, but honestly, like I really agree with Ted. But I think where this is going to be trouble and where we're still going to be talking about it, like Gase put him on a pitch count. Obviously, that's what it really seems to be. But it's Adam Gase and Le'Veon Bell. They're not off to a great start in their relationship, so this could play into the season.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Connor. It's a Jets thing. Moving on, number 3, Russell Wilson said this week he wants to play until he's 46. Telling Sports Illustrated, I just turned 31. My goal is to play another 15 years. You taking the over or under on 45 for Russell Wilson?
I am taking the under because the Seattle Seahawks have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. They were 31st last year as an offensive line unit. Okay. Yeah, they have a running game. That team purely wins on the back of Russell Wilson. They have some talent outside at receiver this year, so it's going to be pretty interesting, but he takes a lot of hits. Okay.
Yep. Ted's taking the over. Connor, what about you? Over, under?
I said under originally, but I kind of want to take the over now. I feel like this guy actually might transition well into, you lose the legs. He's got a cannon of an arm and he's pretty accurate. So I feel like even if he doesn't end up with the Seahawks, he might be able to transition into just being that traditional pocket passer for another team.
Fair enough.
With a self-imposed nickname of Mr. Unlimited. How could you doubt it?
Fair enough. Moving right along from one great quarterback to a not great quarterback. Josh Rosen told the Palm Beach Post he's ready to seize his opportunity this year. He's 3rd on the depth chart behind Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Hopefully this year I'll get a shot to play. He said, is Rosen getting a shot to play this year? Yes or no? No from Connor. No from Ted. No from Diaz.
I mean, hey, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, there was a great video today. He's pulling a Mahomes, throwing no-look passes in practice. So Josh Rosen, no.
Yeah. Tyrell Williams sustained a torn labrum in practice this week. It appears he'll miss some serious time. Only 42 catches and 650 yards last year in 12 games started, 14 games played. Is this a big deal for the Raiders?
Yes.
Connor?
Yeah. I mean, I can't expound on that, but I mean, torn labrum, I think it's definitely going to be a problem.
That's a serious injury. Ted's waffling.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to play very much or at all, but the Raiders, I never saw them as relying on his unique talents to get the job done.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Dunkin' and Harpoon have teamed up to produce a line of coffee and donut flavored beers. Flavors include pumpkin, Boston cream, jelly donut, and coffee porter. Anybody trying this shit?
Fucking pisses me off. What the hell? Like Harpoon, I actually like Harpoon. And then you team up with dog shit Dunkin' Donuts. I don't, and this is not me as a Starbucks fan. I don't like either of them, but god damn it. All right, go ahead.
I love Harpoon. I love donuts, but I'd rather eat my donuts and drink my beer. I do not need both in the same substance.
Ted's the only affirmative. Why?
Because I'm an engaged exploring muncher. I like trying different things. And wait, is it beer flavored donuts or donut flavored beer?
Donut flavored beer.
I'd be more likely to eat the beer flavored donuts, I think.
Yeah.
Like a nice IPA.
That's an
in
interesting
the morning.
point.
A nice bitter
They could
donut.
do that. Oscar Blues also came out with a mustard flavored beer, so it could be worse. Moving along, number 7 here. The Vikings will play their first 2 home games. Mike Zimmer's not a fan. I think it's a competitive disadvantage. Sean McDermott said the same thing. Do you guys buy that no fans, as opposed to some fans, because nobody's talking about a full stadium, will have an impact on the on teams this year? Ted says no. Why is that?
Big time now. The first 2 weeks of the season, the least of your worries is whether or not there are fans in the stands. There are no preseason games. You're making long shots on the roster. You don't have everything ironed out. Fans don't matter.
Mike, your thoughts?
I think it's all or nothing. When you look at those stadiums, what is 13,000 fans going to do in that massive stadium? That's basically like having no one there. So if you're looking for a competitive advantage, 13,000 fans in the stands is not it.
Yeah. Connor's used to going to games with 13,000 fans or less at the Meadowlands. Moving on, lots of chatter at a Cowboys camp about CeeDee Lamb and his connection with Dak Prescott. They worked out together in the offseason. Now Cowboys social media is blowing up with CeeDee Lamb clips. Is this just all PR for the Cowboys? Is there something of merit here? Can CeeDee Lamb be a leader in receiver?
A rookie wide receiver, man? What?
So you think you're following the company line that no, not going to make an impact?
I think he can definitely make an impact. I think anybody, that's going to get touches. I feel like that guy's super talented. So I mean, anything's possible with the Cowboys and a new offense coming in. So
Mike says no.
It's training camp. Okay. Everyone's talking about, there was this great pass between Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin. They're like, oh, wow, he scored a touchdown. Yeah, in 7-on-7 drills, and the cornerback tripped in the end zone. So it's practice. They're not playing in preseason games. They haven't stepped onto an actual football field and hit anyone yet. So yeah, this looks great with cornerbacks playing no coverage on them. I mean, I'm sorry, it's practice.
I'm going to rebut to this, but in the Jets beat when I do later. So I just want to say it.
Conversely, there's not a lot of chatter coming out of Browns camp outside of the injury to Grant Delpit. So much so that it's actually newsworthy to me compared to last year when they were on the cover of Sports Illustrated and there was all that hype. The quietude of Browns camp, can this equate to anything on the field? Connor says no.
It can't last. It cannot last because the amount of personalities you have there. I don't know. Maybe like they're doing something to suppress the media or like I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Ted says yes. Could equate to something.
I'll get into this in my AFC North beat, but no news is probably good news at this point.
Yep. Mike is also in the affirmative on that. All right, last one, number 10. We're right on time here. You can win a case of Bud Light or a voucher for $20, which you can buy Bud Light with. If you draft Gardner Minshew in the first round of your fantasy draft this year, the story has gone viral. There will be 250 winners. You just have to upload a screenshot to social media proving that you did it. Since Mike has left the show, Connor and Ted, are you blowing up your draft for a case of Panther piss to draft Gardner Minshew in the first round?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Why the fuck would I want to ruin my whole year?
I'm coming with my own case of Bud Light.
Yeah.
And drafting like a star running back. No, never. No.
Gardner Minshew, get the hell out of here.
Connor, it says you're the host. Are you able to record the meeting? Is that an option for you? Oh, wait, I have a button. Oh, you have to do it as the host, potentially. I just don't want to miss this bit without Mike. This could be gold.
No, I think it says we're still rolling live here now. Mike is back to being the host.
Oh, now we're recording again. Cool.
Obviously, he didn't trust me.
Oh.
Wow.
Mike,
Mike's
are you drafting Gardner Minshew in the first round?
Gardner Minshew in the first round? Hey, for a case of free beer, hell yes.
So Mike's the only one.
You're full of shit. You're full of shit, Diaz.
I hope he does. That wraps up 1st and 10. Well done, gents.
All right.
That was fun. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Good seg.
Right now?
Moving.
Yeah.
10 more questions. 10 more and we're going to do the same questions, but we're going to do them backwards. All right. All right. So we're going to move on to the beats now. And we'll start with Teddy.
Yep.
Ted, Steelers. Get into it, man.
Yeah, so as I alluded just a hot minute ago, there's not a whole lot of new news coming from the Steelers or the AFC North in general. It's a lot of predictable, positive buzz around rookies. But because I have a segment to talk about the Steelers or the AFC North, I'm going to obviously pick the Steelers. So yeah, the positive buzz is coming around Claypool, and now outside linebacker Alex Highsmith is getting some praise, which is great because we're going to lose Dupree after this year. But two quick nuggets caught my ear. Apparently Paxton Lynch had an off day and is struggling in his battle with Duck Hodges for the third string quarterback.
He's garbage.
So yeah, thus I concede to Matt's opinion of Paxton Lynch. We can carry on Go Duck. And then the other one is that Coach Tomlin has Eric Ebron on the blocking sleds, which he says he hasn't used since Detroit. And allegedly it's not looking very good, but players tend to progress throughout the offseason. So maybe the blocking can be there, and he just needs to have head coach staring down on him at the sleds for a while. So, yeah, let's go Steelers.
Right. Well, that was exhilarating. I guess I'll
There's some good Steelers nuggets in there. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, neither did I. All right, I'll lighten the mood a little bit here. We're going to talk about the Jets beat. And just before I forget, Mike, I just wanted to say to rebut to your comment saying that it's practice, it's early, it's just camp. Rookies don't mean anything, and this.
I'm not saying
the Jets starting offense today scored 0 points in 6 series against backup defense. So, and conversely, in good news, the backup D, the starting D gave up 20 points to the backup offense.
That's good.
So
Perfect.
Things keep on rolling.
Sounds like
and
Jets.
a couple of fumbles by our wide receivers today, which is like not the worst news, unless of course you want your receivers to hold on to the football. Not that important. And also the Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I said it's a continuing a thread. He and Adam Gase apparently don't like each other. What a bummer. And it's just also not a shocker with the New York Jets. And then another news bullet, I should say, is that Frank Gore apparently is still playing in the NFL. And believe it or not, he's playing for your Jets Jets and is showing lateral quickness, which is very important for a running back in the National Football League. So that's been the Jets beat. Moving right along. Diaz, you want to talk about the Falcons?
Yeah, I do. I think, Teddy, to your point, this has been a very quiet camp, and that's because there's no media in these camps. So it's really hard to kind of get a real beat of what's going on inside the camps. You're seeing a lot of positivity and things like that. So it's tough to really decipher what is news coming out of these camps. What I'm really excited about, offensive line, is my favorite position in football to talk about. I think it's one of the most important positions outside of the quarterback. Our rookie 3rd round draft pick, Matt Hennessy, center out of Temple, we're actually plugging him in at left guard, and the competition has been very well. And just like AJ Terrell is getting a world-class education going against Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, Matt Hennessy is going up one of the best defensive tackles in the league in Grady Jarrett. Speaking of Grady Jarrett, he's taken on Marlon Davidson, our 2nd round draft pick, defensive end out of Auburn, and he is sticking to him like glue. He is learning so much from Grady Jarrett, and it's just been really good to see the education that's going on with some of these young guys and the positivity that's coming out of it. There's my minute.
Beautiful.
Diaz, that Hennessy kid went to Don Bosco in Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, Dan Quinn's from Jersey too. He went to Monmouth.
Yeah, but he sucks. Anyway, Matt, go ahead.
A couple things I could talk about at Packers camp. Kenny Clark got a new deal, 4-year, $70 million extension, and he's just a cornerstone piece. So I'm glad that they got that done. Rick Wagner, the guy that they brought in to replace Brian Bulaga, has an arm injury, and suddenly the Packers are looking a little bit shaky on the right side of the line. But the position I want to talk about is linebackers. They haven't invested in linebackers in 10 years. They haven't had a good linebacking core since they won the Super Bowl against the Steelers. But this year might be different. They brought in Christian Kirksey from Cleveland, who knows Mike Pettine's system. And there's reports out of camp that he's running stride for stride with Aaron Jones. He's doing pass coverage. He's blitzing well. But the guy that's really turning a lot of heads is Kamal Martin, their 5th round pick out of Minnesota. And the crazy thing about Kamal is that he lined up at linebacker, he lined up at defensive line, he lined up at corner, he lined up at safety all throughout the season last year on what was the best defense in the Big Ten. In high school, in fact, he actually played quarterback. So they found 2 really athletic linebackers, and when you pair them with the Smith brothers and you have Kenny Clark anchoring that and opening things up, this might totally revolutionize and be the final piece for that defense to take the next step. The only thing with them is that they're both coming off injuries, so can they stay healthy? They're a little bit they lack a little bit of depth at that position, but it's a great first start, so I'm excited about that.
Love it.
All right, gentlemen, it's been really, really interesting to hear about the news on the beat from around the league. Now, from a segment that was so well received, we're going to just revisit it again this week and probably next week and for the rest of time. This is Ted's Talk, and I am super nervous because I'm the least informed member of this panel, and this really puts me on the spot. So, Ted, you want to take us into Ted's Talk?
Yeah, Connor, I did think about you throughout the week.
You're going to stick
mostly
it to me really
today,
hard.
a couple hours ago when I came up with the prompt, and I decided that you won't really have, there's no advantage this week in necessarily knowing a prompt. It's another very conversational sort of thing. So
it's an A form, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
An A form?
What he's talking about. What?
In what
You said there was like
context?
A through D, right? Format. Don't worry about what I'm saying. Just continue. Sorry.
Bueller.
We'll circle back to this later, Mike, because
It's an A form.
Oh, multiple choice.
No,
you just
forget it.
spend a minute on it. Yeah. Okay. So the prompt for this week is the case that the passing attack of team will lead the league in 2020.
Ooh.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Question,
Ted?
Alex.
Sorry.
Yes.
The Jets.
You're making make the case that the passing attack of team will lead the league in 2020.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so now the ceremonious random number generator. And first we'll go for Matt this time. And you got 31, so you're going towards the end. Tennessee Titans.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Okay. 27, we'll go that for Mike. Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's
Awesome.
fun.
Love it.
And 14, Connor, is the New York Jets. I'm kidding. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
Good
So
teams to talk about here.
yeah, so I will give you 75 seconds as I do, and I have prepared a monologue for this period. So go. Okay. So, welcome to Ted's Talks with no affiliation to TED Talks, where I, the very Ted after which Ted's Talks with no affiliation to TED Talks is named, to each of my pals here on this podcast, none of which being duplicatively named Ted, which is a breath of fresh air for housekeeping, present the same open-ended prompt, then spin the wheel to assign a random team to each. The aforementioned pals are then given 75 seconds, in which we are now. Ooh, math. 50 seconds deep. To prepare for an extemporaneous speech of 60 seconds to defend their off-the-cuff thesis. And as a recap, we have the Tennessee Titans for Matt, the Pittsburgh Steelers for Mike Diaz, and the Indianapolis Colts for Connor. And we're ticking down here, guys, to the final 10 seconds of this period. So get your notes ready. And we'll go in opposite order of assignment. We're going to start with Connor, and then move to Mike, and then finish with Matt. I think that might have been the same order as last time. And that is time.
Okay. Is the clock
So
starting
Connor,
for me?
wow me.
Wow
yeah,
you.
hold on, let me hit you with 60 seconds and go.
You would think that a team that drafted Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, esteemed running back, breaking all kinds of records in the college game, that on top of having Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines in your backfield stable, that you probably wouldn't be passing the ball much at all in this season, and your focus might be on the run game. Well, you'd be wrong, because a new guy has entered the fray. His name is Phillip Rivers, and he is going to have a season where he completely resurrects his career, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, and has a guy named T.Y. Hilton, who is also going to have a massive bounce back year. And maybe Jack Doyle shows a little life left in the legs and the hands. And I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. Quentin Nelson also on the line there. I feel like maybe Phillip Rivers shows us one more year of glory.
Time's up.
Well done.
The case for Phillip Rivers. I love it. All right. As promised, moving on. Mike, you've got the Steelers. Let's talk about them
Right.
again.
the case that the passing attack of the Pittsburgh Steelers will lead the league in 2020. Okay, first and foremost, Big Ben is back. He has won 2 Super Bowls. He is not Duck Hodges, and he's not Mason Rudolph. Okay, just begin. So instantly, Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be better because he's got a potential Hall of Fame quarterback throwing to him. Okay, let's talk about Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson had 3.9 yards average separation from the closest defender, which guess what? Was number 1 ranked against all wide receivers, which is a huge stat. He is fast, he runs excellent routes, and he's been working out with Deshaun Jackson all offseason, so that's good. Eric Ebron, as you said, may not be able to block, but guess what? He can catch a lot of balls, and he's a great red zone threat. Chase Claypool may be 4th on the depth chart right now, but he provides the most as far as upside. 6'5", runs a 4.3 40. The guy's insane. And guess what? They have this guy named Ryan Switzer, who's very athletic out of the slot, and I think he'll do very well there. Boom.
Cool. Time's up. I couldn't agree more. Just with
Love it.
everything. Let's spend the next minute on them too.
Anybody else
All
sick?
right. Matt, are you ready?
I'm ready.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
The story of the Tennessee Titans is a story of expectations and how you upturn expectations. Their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, is a defensive coach. Ryan Tannehill left for dead in Miami, a career resurrected. A.J. Brown, an afterthought in the draft, comes out in his rookie year. We've talked about rookie wide receivers on this show. 84 catches for over 1,000 yards. So now you have Ryan Tannehill with a full offseason. You have A.J. Brown, who proved it. You have Corey Davis, a former number 4 overall pick. You have Adam Humphries. And now you have Jonnu Smith, one of the most athletic tight ends in the league, taking over with Delaney Walker leaving. Ryan Tannehill, 70% completion percentage, 201 for 286 in the games that he played, 22-6 touchdown to interceptions. That's a 3-to-1 ratio. They're only going to build on what they created last year, which was good enough to get them to the AFC Championship game. The Titans will have the number 1 passing attack this year.
Excellent.
Love that.
Excellent.
This is great. I love this.
Okay.
Now there's at least one person on the internet defending that the Indianapolis Colts might have the number 1 passing attack. I think the other 2 have a fairly reasonable chance.
I like how that giving me the prompt wouldn't have helped. Giving me maybe last to prepare wouldn't have helped. And then I get the team that doesn't want to pass the football. Son of a bitch!
It could have at least been like a team with a lot, like the Broncos with rookie wide receivers or something for you to know their college game. Yeah, that was pretty.
I never want the prompt ahead of time. I'm just gonna go right.
Yeah, well, because what are you gonna do? Research the wide receiver core of every team? Like,
yes, Teddy, I would have. I would have.
Okay. I would too. I'm equally insecure.
TED's Talk, a success once again. And I, even though it is the most nerve-wracking, I'm learning to love it and look forward to it each week now. All right, so we're going to get into some questions here. I'm going to take a little bit of time on this, but I want to just bounce some things off you guys. You get back to me on your immediate thoughts here. First up, we've got the New England Patriots. Win total. Over-under, we're going to set it at 9. What are we thinking, gentlemen? 9 wins, over-under.
Well, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of where the Patriots are going to be this year. That said, the Patriots exceed expectations almost every single year. When they had all the sanctions, when Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games, they won the Super Bowl. So Cam Newton is still fighting for the number 1 job. He should win it. I'm going to take the over on the Patriots here just because they get to play the Jets twice and the Dolphins twice. So there's 4 wins right there. And I think they may split with the Bills. They may even lose both to the Bills. But I'm not betting against a coach like Bill Belichick. And if Cam Newton is the starting quarterback, I'm not betting against Cam Newton. And then that defense, is going to be productive against this year. So I'll take the over on it.
All right, Diaz, where are you at?
All right. Look, if anything, this is a push for me. But I'll take, if I'm taking a stand, I'll go with the under. They lost 9 starters on offense and defense between last season. Jamie Collins, your number one pass rusher from last year. Kyle Van Noy, your number one in quarterback pressures from last year. Oh, and guess what? Dante Hightower opting out. Marcus Cannon, your stud right guard, sitting out. You still have no real offensive weapons. Okay. Like on the outside perimeter, you're relying on 2 rookie tight ends to come and win the job. But Matt, to your point, yes, this is Bill Belichick. They do exceed expectations. So I'm probably going to be wrong, but if I'm a betting man, I'm hammering the under on this.
Eddie.
I'll tie break on the over. Belichick managed to scrape together 11 wins with Matt Castle. He can do it with Cam Newton. I agree. The defense has some question marks, especially with, I guess, Patrick Chung and Dante Hightower holding out, not last minute, but, a couple weeks ago. But the system's proven to make elite players out of everyone that walks in, and good players become great. Average players become good. It's the Patriots. They're going to walk out with 10 wins or more.
And don't undersell Mohamed Sanu, and don't undersell N'Keal Harry. I know he didn't have a great rookie year, but he's a super athletic guy, and sometimes those receivers just make a gigantic second-year jump. The other thing I'll say is that the Patriots had a very Patriot-like draft, and so a lot of those guys that they lost on defense, Bill Belichick is the best evaluator of defensive talent. He pulls names out of nowhere. The Patriots defense was number 1 through 9 or 10 games last year before they kind of fell off a cliff. But even then, even though those guys had been there for a while, you could probably only name 3 or 4 guys on that defense, because outside of the McCourty brothers and Chung and Hightower, maybe Van Noy if you knew the Patriots well. Bill Belichick knows how to build his team. He knows how to put guys into his system. He knows how to find Belichick guys, Bill Parcells guys, football players. So I'm trusting in that when I say that they're going to go over the 9-win estimate.
Okay.
I'll take the over whenever Matt is given a segment. I'm just kidding. That was excellent. And you're 100% right.
You.
You're 100% right though. It's Bill Belichick. So you can't discard anything that he does or his plans.
I don't know if we're really considering the fact that the Patriots could just sit this year out. So,
they're due for it, right?
Yeah, right.
Or do.
God forbid. I hate that. Anyway, So next up, we've had some interesting news. Earl Thomas departing from the Ravens, which is weird because I feel like that in my mind was a really cool fit. The safety, playing in a place where safeties are super appreciated. Defense is always a primary concern for that team, and very celebrated. So Earl Thomas, not on the Ravens anymore, and Antonio Brown, nowhere to be found as far as NFL teams are concerned. So my question to you guys is, who's more likely to play in 2020? Is it going to be AB or is it going to be Earl Thomas?
I'll jump in first here, and I'm going to take a contrarian opinion. I think we'll see. I think it's Antonio Brown, and until proven otherwise, we should actually believe that AB could play as like a top 3 receiver in the league. Last time, what little he played last year, he showed flashes of brilliance, and he's got an incredible pedigree. Not to say that Earl Thomas is a chump, but I mean, rumors are, and a little bit of tape from last year shows that he's not the guy he used to be, a little bit slower, and players sort of age differently, and maybe safety is less forgiving than wide receiver. But right now, if you're they both feel like flyers, and there's a lot of backlash and publicity that you have to deal with. But if you need a receiver, AB could change your team.
It's a good argument. It's such a toss up between these two. The linchpin for me is, or the sticking point for me is the 8-game suspension, because you get 8 games in the season, you kind of know what your team is at that point. You know what trajectory you're on, and adding a problematic wide receiver, if you're on the ascendancy, is not likely going to boost your team, even though he has that much talent. I think teams aren't going to want to bring that into their locker room. That said, if there's one person who's deemed more toxic than Antonio Brown right now, it's Earl Thomas. because he left one of the best organizations in football, one of the best managed organizations in football, the Ravens. But Earl Thomas, there's going to be injuries. There's already injuries. Grant Delpit in Cleveland, as we mentioned. Earl Thomas has been linked to the Cowboys for a while. They still have a hole at safety. They don't like Clinton Dix there because Clinton Dix is not a great player. So I think the biggest thing is that 8 games, and you can get Earl Thomas in right away, and you can make an impact in training camp right away.
I am going to break the tie, and I am going to say I've been very anti Antonio Brown for this entire offseason, but I'm going to say Antonio Brown has a better shot of playing in 2020. The way that Antonio Brown left the Ravens organization puts a terrible taste in my mouth. The fact that the players went to ownership essentially and said, you got to get this guy off the team. I have never really heard of that before in the NFL. And we've all been watching the NFL for a very long time. So when you see that and you see how he left Seattle, giving Pete Carroll the finger as he's getting carted off the field, I just think this guy is bad. And this is a what have you done for me lately league. He made the Pro Bowl last year, but that was just basically a popularity type thing. He only had 2 interceptions last year, and Derrick Henry turned him into a fullback in the playoffs. So he really did not have a good season when you look at his stats overall. So I just don't think it looks good for Earl Thomas in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of CTE going on there, maybe. Anyway, I mean, leads with his heads on a lot of those big blow up plays. Anyway,
True.
All right. So with limited access to camps in 2020, I know Mike had touched on that. Teams and like the social media are like they're highlighting the just little, the small tidbits of like practice. What's like the one storyline or player improvement or fall off that like holds some merit to you? Like, what have you seen in the little bit that you can see that you want to comment on?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt. No, go.
No. Okay.
No.
The storyline that caught my eye was Bruce Arians calling out the Tampa Bay running backs for not being able to catch passes, because we've talked a lot on this show about how Tom Brady likes using running backs in the passing game and how it's sort of a safety valve for him, but also a critical part of the Patriots offense over the last 10 years. And so we called out Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn for not being able to hang on to the football. I think the reporters that were able to get in there noticed 2 or 3 drops for each guy. And so that running back position at Tampa has always been a little bit leery, a little bit shaky for me to dive wholeheartedly into. And we've had discussions about should we go after Ronald Jones? Is he a sleeper or not? Is he worthy of a mid-round pick? And I think this news is more alarming in a fantasy perspective than maybe it is in a real life perspective. Because if they can't catch the passes, there's plenty of running backs who can catch passes. They're just going to bring in somebody else to do it and deploy them in that manner. So that's what caught my eye.
Does that include LaShawn McCoy? Didn't they pick him up recently?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the reason why they brought him in.
Right. Yeah.
Probably.
All right. So one of the storylines that I'm really tracking really has nothing to do with football. And I think the one thing that like holds some merit, and I kind of talked about this last week with the Washington football team. There are some serious allegations that just came out today again against Daniel Snyder. He is by far one of the most hated owners. And that was before any of this started coming out. He's just an idiot when it comes to owning a football team. And now it just proves more so that he's even an idiot, saying that it's an attack on him or whatever it may be. But I started off saying last week that teams often rally behind certain things, especially with Ron Rivera and his cancer diagnosis. I think this also helps the Washington football team because they have an owner that no one really likes. They have a coach that people the players want to play for. Ron Rivera is very well liked in the locker rooms with all of his players. I think this is the type of thing everyone's been down on the Washington football team. They're dog shit. They're going to have terrible things. Okay. Like, look, you have Alex Smith to rally behind. He's coming back after a gruesome injury. Okay. And now you have Ron Rivera, and you have this ownership that's just going to the way of the dodo. And I think this is going to rally the players. You have a young, talented defense. I think we could be talking about Washington as an 8-win team.
I don't know.
So anticlimactic. As an 8-win team.
Yeah, but
it's better than the 2 wins.
Yeah, that exceeds expectations for the Redskins. One thing, and we talked about Ron Rivera last week a little bit. I think Chuck Pagano was in his first year in Indianapolis when he became the head coach. The one thing
Bruce Arians took over.
Yeah, with coronavirus, these players may have just met Ron Rivera a week ago before they got that diagnosis, so they may not have that connect. A lot of these players may not have met Alex Smith. I don't know. He was in the booth a lot. I don't know how frequent a visitor he was to the locker room or anything. So yeah, these are good stories, but if you don't have the talent to back it up, I'm not sure that these good stories and this momentum can make up for that.
All right.
Your thoughts, Ted?
Okay, I'll take this pregnant pause to spew my prepared line. I took this on an angle focusing on rookies, because I am hearing a lot about rookies, and that's makes sense because it's one of the hot topics. Like, if veterans are acting like veterans, no one really cares. We don't need to report that the captain is being a captain. He's been in the league for 12 years. So I sifted through the different reports on various rookies, and I have landed on, I am optimistic about Jalen Reagor for the Eagles. And this has a lot to do with perceived opportunity, I think, but the offense desperately needs like help at the wide receiver position, obviously. And like, I feel like Deshaun Jackson's still in the house, and I feel like that's a good mentor for someone like Reagor, because they have sort of similar molds. They're not exactly the same player, but he's a little bit shorter. He's quick. And I watched some highlight reels. In fact, I watched every game he played in college today. And what really impressed me was the open field skills. He is a big time punt returner, and he can make people miss. And he was doing it after some impressive catches too. I like the intangibles I saw on tape for the college. I'm hearing positive buzz coming from the Eagles camp about this guy. I think that this one, I believe, like, I think they'll put him in he'll be the second receiver. He'll be in every play and get the opportunities and really make a difference.
Yeah, Reagor's talented enough to make an impact as a rookie for all the points that you made. He's just, they might use him on punt return, or they just might find some gadget plays to get him the ball early on and get him some confidence. He's a really good player.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions because this is just creates all these funny images in my head. So Joe Judge took the red jersey off Daniel Jones. Wants him to get smacked around a little bit, which to me is just funny watching this guy turn into a tackling dummy. And obviously that's like a growing trend in football. Oh wait, probably not. Where they want the quarterbacks to get hit in practice. Okay, so good idea, bad idea, worst idea you've ever heard? Guys, go ahead. With Teddy, you want to go ahead and weigh in?
I would love to, because I love this move. And yes, there's risk of injury, but I love the idea of letting the quarterback get hit. Like, there's so much merit in practice like you play. And I thought of like two very like specific scenarios of like where maybe this will matter. It's so he won't forget where the pressure is coming from when he sees this look in the game. If he gets popped, blindsided or something in practice, like he'll think about that. He'll be more cognizant of whether or not the particular running back in right now is pass protecting and picking up the right rusher. Like, because it's one thing to get touched and log it into memory, put it in the database back there. But like, if you have a couple of these like wallops, you know that this one's happening. And the other one is, I think it might force the scramble drill a little bit sooner, just a split second sooner, because there's the real threat of getting hit now. And that's something that should be practiced. Get on the same page with your receivers, float over with your quarterback, know his tendencies, what you might do, where's your outlet. These are sorts of things that really come up in the games, and that's why teams get better throughout September typically, because they're redshirting the quarterbacks the whole offseason. I say let them hit them.
Okay. Somebody please talk some sense to this man right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is dog shit. This is the dumbest fucking idea. And Teddy, your points.
Joe Judge hates his quarterback. That's my.
Yeah, Teddy, your points are all fair. And big if, Daniel Jones makes it through offseason, he'll benefit from it. But you have a bunch of guys who are trying to make the team, and so they're going to go and a bunch of young guys who don't know necessarily the protocols of how to tackle a quarterback, where to tackle him and that stuff. They haven't been talked to by Drew Brees or Tom Brady after a play that says, hey, you don't go low on that. So you have a bunch of guys who are champing at the bit to take down Daniel Jones and make a big impact. This is what happens when you have a special teams coach who is just amped up on contact, becoming a head coach. He doesn't understand that there's a reason why you don't even do this in fucking high school. You don't touch the quarterbacks there because for the same reason, guys don't know where to hit, how to let up in practice. And I think the risk of injuring Daniel Jones, because you have nobody after him, the risk of injuring him, I mean, that compromises your whole team. You got Jason Garrett trying to instill a new offense, and then now all of a sudden Daniel Jones has to learn that and then also focus on a bunch of young rookies or young players coming in and trying to take his head off or blow out his knee. I mean, I don't know what comfort level is going to be there for Daniel Jones so that he can learn this new offense. This is one of the most asinine things I've ever heard of.
I am sticking with Ted on this one. I actually love this. I think it is one of the most brilliant things because so many of these quarterbacks they're soft. And the type of play that we saw out of Daniel Jones last year, the guy that it reminded me of, Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was a tough son of a bitch. And I mean, Daniel Jones, I didn't know he had wheels like that. He took off running on some of these plays and he got hit a lot. And guess what? He better get prepared to get hit because that Giants offensive line did not get any better.
So what does he need to learn? What does he need? If he got his ass beat up last year, why does he need to learn how to get hit?
Because it toughens them up. Man, he is trying to change the culture in New York and everything that he's doing there. He's even having tennis balls taped to defensive backs' hands so that they learn not to hold. Like, I just think everything that he's doing there just sends a good message throughout the organization where he's just saying, like, I'm going to treat everyone the same way as everyone else. Okay.
Andrew Luck, you use as an example, who retired after several injuries. It makes no sense.
Dude, Daniel Jones is going to get fucking annihilated this year.
Okay, first of all, here, who on the Giants defense is actually considered a decent pass rusher? Okay, outside of Marcus Golden, who had 10 sacks last year, Quinnen Williams, okay, who's I believe is injured. Don't quote me. Okay. But there is no one on that defensive front seven that actually fucking scares me to actually reach Daniel Jones in the first place. Their secondary can't cover anyone. So they have three very good receivers and a tight end that are getting open faster. He's bringing a different offense. Jason Garrett knows how to get the ball out and get the ball out quick. We saw that in his entire tenure in Dallas. Okay. No one on that Giants defense scares me in hitting Daniel Jones. So have at it.
Mike, we all played football. We all know a Rocco Bravaco who comes in, who's not talented enough to play, but tries to be a practice superstar. And
by the way, I wish we could have hit Corey George in high school because we probably would have had a lot better seasons without his ass.
There's tangentially related family members on this show, so you can't say that. And Corey George is a good dude. The point is, the fact that there aren't bona fide pass rushers, veteran presences on the defense is exactly what scares me. There's going to be guys looking to make names and put a hit on Daniel Jones. Because I bet in the defensive locker room, they're talking about, oh, Joe Judge just took the red shirt off him. Who's going to make the biggest play? And somebody's going to go out there and blow out his fucking knee. It's the dumbest fucking thing. It's so dumb.
Dude, you don't in a practice, regardless of if you have dog shit pass rushers, regardless of it, like you're installing a new offense, you have a young quarterback who's going to get hit a lot, who doesn't need. If you want to simulate getting hit or whatever, just do it in shells and then have like a mat behind the guy so he can. He's been hit already. He's been playing his football his whole life as a quarterback who's been the object of desire for everybody on the defense. He's been hit enough. He doesn't need to be hit more before it actually counts. He's the biggest asset on your team. The only thing that's believable to me is that Joe Judge actually doesn't want Daniel Jones to be the starting quarterback, wants to tank this season and put them in a good spot to draft somebody better than him. I have no idea. None of the brightest, best coaches of all time have ever said, you know what? Take the red jersey off, pal. Get in there and get the shit kicked out of you. That's going to make you a man. That's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't know what the Giants are thinking. But then again, I don't care what happens to the Giants. So I hope Daniel Jones gets real tough as he's watching games for the rest of the season on the sidelines with a bunch of like crutches and braces and whatever else is going to happen to him. All right, we got time for one more question. I want you guys to just give me a quick answer. We're not going to elaborate too much on this one, but one rookie running back to actually target in the fantasy 2020 season. We talked about rookie wide receivers, with the CeeDee Lamb and whatnot. So just give me something with the running backs. Matt, go ahead.
Obviously, there's a lot to talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and maybe we'll talk about him in this final segment here because the hype around him is just going crazy. A lot of talk about Antonio Gibson now coming around in Washington. But the guy that I've pegged from the beginning is Cam Akers. And there's not a lot that has changed my perspective of that. I know they have Darrell Henderson there, but Cam Akers is the most athletic guy. He's the most Todd Gurley of them all, and he fits what the Rams want to do. They've had Darrell. They know what Darrell Henderson can do. So I actively plan on targeting Cam Akers. Between rounds 8 and 12, I wouldn't even mind reaching for him because the potential is so high on that offense for him.
I'm taking that stand. I'm planting the flag in Cam Akers this year just because of his value. He's going to produce as a rookie. He's taking first team reps right now, as of reported a couple of days ago. Darrell Henderson seems to be relegated to the second team. Okay, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where people are picking him, and Matt and I have talked about this, we have seen him go in the top 5. There was actually an article that Matt showed me about a conversation of Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Christian McCaffrey as the first overall draft pick, which is absolutely bonkers. Okay, let's talk about return on investment. Okay, taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire or any rookie in the first 5 picks of an NFL draft, you are expecting 300 plus points out of that player, which you're most likely not going to get. And you're destroying your draft, especially if you're picking that early, because now you're not picking for another 20 picks. Okay, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Cam Akers in the 8th through 10th round is such a steal. He'll probably go up. He'll probably fall into the 7th or 8th range, but he is going to be so good for that Rams offense, especially when you have 2 excellent wide receivers, a solid tight end, and guess what? Your quarterback has been a top 5 passer for the last 2 years in a row right now, and he's played in a Super Bowl. So I like the Rams offense, and I like Cam Akers.
I too am going to sidestep Clyde Edwards-Helaire because it's too obvious. And you make a good point, Mike. Let's look at return on investment. So I'm going to throw out a different name just for the sake of doing it. I pegged DeAndre Swift. And I know he's had a couple soft tissue injuries in camp and everything, but DeAndre Swift, especially in a PPR league, I think could hold a lot of value for where you're going to get him. I didn't actually do the due diligence to see where he's being drafted, but I have to assume it's later in the drafts. I think we talked about it last time and he was maybe the 80th pick or something like that. But I think that there's a good chance that he's going to play that third down role plus maybe every third series rotational in the beginning of the season. But I think there's a potential that he sort of shifts into the feature back and it becomes he does the 2 to Kerryon Johnson's change of pace because he's just got the skill set that the Lions want and he's going to catch those passes. And that's not something that Kerryon Johnson has proven he can do. I don't doubt he has the ability or whatever, but they just haven't used him in that way. Maybe there's something to that. And I'm hearing that from Lions camp that they're trying to use him in a Alvin Kamara kind of capacity. That's DeAndre Swift, that is. So that speaks fantasy gold to me. So if he's half the guy I think he is, then he should have productive fantasy numbers.
DeAndre Swift could have been the first running back taken, and also Kerryon Johnson
Should
hasn't
have
proven
been.
that he can stay healthy. So
Right.
there's a lot of upside if Kerryon Johnson goes down. One more name, real quick, is J.K. Dobbins. There's a lot of hype
Yeah.
around him coming out of Ravens camp. There's a lot of clips of him catching passes, and he looks really freaking good.
Okay.
The presence of Mark Ingram is a little bit concerning, but the talent is there for Dobbins.
But it's an aging Mark Ingram. Like
right,
at some point, he's going to have to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know everybody like refers to him as the fantasy lock, but I feel like this could easily be the year where that trend actually gets bucked. So, Mike, I know you just made a comment in passing, well, not in passing, but just under your breath a little bit there, which was saying that you believe that DeAndre Swift not necessarily could have been, but should have been the first running back taken. So I'm just wondering, what's your beef with Jonathan Taylor? Even though he was, wait, who was the? I apologize. Who was the first running back taken?
Edwards-Helaire.
Edwards-Helaire, and then
It was the first round.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor was next, and then DeAndre Swift came after him.
Okay. All right.
But all within like 6 picks, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
End of the first round, first of the second, and then I think the Lions picked what, 4th or 5th in the second
He
round.
was
whatever it may have
the
been.
30.
Okay.
Just
percent chance that you guys think
35.
that Jonathan Taylor ends the season with more reps than Marlon Mack, more touches per game.
It's so tricky because Marlon Mack has been a productive running back, and that's why the pick of Jonathan Taylor was so curious to me, as I'm sure it was to you guys. But I mean, and Marlon Mack,
especially when they're going to pass the ball more than any other team.
Right? Yeah. And like Marlon Mack is a young player too, and as Mike you mentioned last week, they also have Nyheim Hines, who can catch the ball. So I think it's going to be a real running back by committee kind of 49ers mode kind of thing.
Yeah. And like Marlon Mack has dealt with some injuries. Okay. But he is such a fantastic runner. He's very secure with the football and he knows the system. He's been there. Okay. And Nyheim Hines is a very good third down back. This is not to take anything away from Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a very talented running back, but guess what? Marlon Mack is in a contract year. What this tells me, the drafting of Jonathan Taylor says, hey, Marlon Mack, we are not going to pay you because we have another running back on a rookie contract. So we're going to use Marlon Mack this year. We may save Jonathan Taylor a little bit. And then next year is going to be the year where you're really going to see Jonathan Taylor because he is then going to be the guy. And then you have Nyheim Hines as the complement change of pace back.
Yeah, all these teams.
I couldn't agree more.
We're going to elaborate, Ted.
Just on Mike's point. I mean, I've watched the Steelers do this time and time again. Is like they drafted. It's not a surprise pick at all. It's like Marlon Mack is on the last year of his rookie deal. This will be his 4th year, and they're just choosing. He's not the game-changing talent that deserves the money to be paid for a second contract running back, and that's literally what the Steelers do. That's like how they lost Le'Veon Bell too. Like it's.
Yeah, there's few running backs who have earned that second contract. Zeke Elliott, we're talking about the elite of the elite, cream of the crop kind of thing. And that was my larger point, is that so many of the teams that drafted running backs this year, with the exception of the Rams and the Chiefs, but you look at A.J. Dillon, they have Aaron Jones. You look at J.K. Dobbins, they have Mark Ingram. DeAndre Swift, they have Kerryon Johnson. Keyshawn Vaughn, they have Ronald Jones. So on and on. I think teams have caught on to the fact that you can't pay a running back that much anymore. So there's always talk about running backs forming their own players association so that they can get paid more. But as long as the supply is there and that teams are doing this, the price for running backs is only going to be reserved for like the elite, like the Christian McCaffreys of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. We're kind of moving into, our last little bit here where it's a little bit more free form and we can talk about what we like, but I want to say 2 things. And I'd like to hear your responses on probably the second thing. The first thing, I think you're just kind of going to laugh at, but so the first thing is anybody that's been watching, and more importantly, if you've been watching the Jets beat, it's like a PSA or young fans that are trying to like figure out what team they want to root for. Don't ever root for the Jets. And B, why you don't root for the Jets is because there's no team that has more in the world to prove, or more players on the team that need to prove that they're worth the money that they're getting paid, or they're worth being in the league in general, or a coach that has more to prove. And not only should they be not talking and trying to perform, but yet the opposite is fucking happening every year. Do not root for the Jets. Just don't do it. And don't become a Jets fan. And if you are a Jets fan, bring expectations way down here, because this is just the biggest shit show that you're going to see every year. That we're dealing with Le'Veon Bell bitching at the coach, and the coach holding him out because he's got a tight hamstring. It just, on and on. It's never ending. Just the bullshit that mounts. But okay, the second thing. Now,
one thing before you move on, Connor, I would like to touch on that point for the Jets. I think the one thing that the Jets, and you see this so rarely in the NFL, and this is where they made a mistake. Adam Gase got fired as a head coach in Miami. A week later, 2 weeks later, he was hired again as a head coach by another team. That is so rare. You don't see a head coach get fired and then get signed as a head coach in such a short time. Right. Okay, that's just stupid ownership making a stupid decision. Take your time, interview coaches, and make a better choice.
The only reason
Who's dying to have Adam Gase? Who's dying to have that coach?
Nobody.
No one.
The only reason why you would do that is if the coach went to the Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy, Ron Rivera were hired right away after they got fired. Adam Gase needs the Jets aren't going to be good until Adam Gase goes. That is the bottom line.
Just got him. God. We're like, what is it, second or third into the Adam Gase era? But you know what, guys? Just give it some time. Jets fans, it's not quite the week to start like looking for the tallest bridge near you, but that's coming week one.
Tallest bridge, if you're a Jets fan, is standing on top of Mekhi Becton. I tell you, that guy is a fucking monster.
Yeah. Well, if we'll check out his lateral movement and if he can actually block people, that might be helpful. But anyway, okay. So the second thing I want to talk about is Hard Knocks. We haven't touched on it yet. The biggest takeaway I got from Hard Knocks was that dude, Clay Johnson, who's trying to make the team as a linebacker. Makes me want to take a shower after I listen to that. He is the most annoying. I'm so tired of the shucks Southern guy bullshit. Everybody knows what you mean when you run around and say fudge. Oh, geez. Dude, get the hell out of here with that bullshit. That's nonsense. It's sickening to me. And the Papa Favre comments, Papa Favre, how are you, Papa Favre? Shut the fuck. Are you? It's so gross. It's this, I can't handle, my brain can't process how a dude, he just looks like a man child, and he's so annoying. But I honestly, I just feel like it's posture pandering to the camera. Because I don't know what this guy's real chances are of making the team, because we can't watch him. I mean, we watched him make one tackle in the developmental group of his scrimmage, but we have no idea what he's going to do against in live, action. So I hope he doesn't make that team, because watching that guy and him being a story is really nauseating. So I don't know if anybody else has comments on Hard Knocks or that dude.
Yes. He is a practice squad player, if that. I mean, he's a 7th round draft pick, so fine. But what I'm glad, and it was pretty prevalent in this episode of Hard Knocks, because whenever you have two teams, there's all right, look, there's never equality. So you always tend to favor one more than the other. And I'm really glad, and you can see it in this episode, they started favoring the Chargers more than the Rams. I mean, this episode was pretty much like 70-30 Chargers to Rams. And the Chargers have, it's such great potential there. And I love watching Anthony Lynn. I love watching the players there. My best takeaway was Melvin Ingram. Yeah. I mean, what I was hearing, Melvin Ingram's, okay, he's at practice. He's not practicing. But, okay, well, that seems kind of weird. But you got to see what he was doing. He's there. He's not just standing on the sideline, which is what they made it think to be. He's there. He's coaching. He's catching balls for the quarterbacks. He's holding up dummies. He is teaching these younger guys. And Anthony Lynn said it best. Hey, when you're done playing, I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be coaching. And I just think that's great. Like he is there. He's holding in as opposed to holding out is what the media was branding it as. But Melvin Ingram, true professional, okay, great teammate. And I just love watching the Chargers, watching Tyrod Taylor go up and go through the film and go through some extra breakdowns and stuff like that. And hearing Brian Balaga, I just love the way that this team is gelling together. I think Anthony Lynn is a fantastic coach, and the players there want to play to win. By the way, one more thing on the Chargers. Joey Bosa is probably one of the most entertaining people on the show. Just the fact you get to see his personality. Oh, I hope Melvin comes back. Dude, he is such a wet blanket, but it's exciting to watch.
The definition of meat. Joey Bosa. What's up, mate?
But he sounds like a little bit of a softie when you hear him talk, and I don't want him to kill me over that. But when he's on the field, he plays completely different, which I just think is phenomenal. I mean, I love watching him. I love the Chargers. I hope they focus more in on the Chargers and forget about the LA Rams. Watching Jared Goff walk through that stadium. Oh yeah, this is nice. Oh, I think I'll get a snack over here.
I can't stand that guy.
Look, I'll say it. Fuck the Rams. Don't really care. I want to watch the Chargers. HBO.
How annoying is their coach, by the way? Like Anthony, like Lynn, that guy. Like he just seems like a good man, like a really good leader to follow. And McVay, right? Sean, he is so annoying to me. He's just I'm sorry, I took my shirt off in front of the camera.
I think it was all by design because, like, from episode 1, I think they were contrasting the Rams to the Chargers, which makes this like construct really unique because you can see how two teams do it side by side. If it was just the Rams, we might not be saying this. We might just think that all football players are like this, but because we have like this really good example of the Chargers, it's like, oh, there's a different way you can be like a real human and like dedicated to your craft and, you know, like have emotions and like be a good coach and teacher and stuff. You don't have to be like this Hollywood bullshit like Jared Goff and Sean McVay are.
Here's a conspiracy theory. So, last year we were all trying to figure out, how do the Chargers fit in? Like, how do you put another team in LA after they just got one back after 15 years or whatever, and a team that was there for that matter before they went to St. Louis, like you just move the Chargers, like let's just move them up the coast an hour and a half. Like, it's not a dramatic move. It's just a team that's never had a presence in LA, and they just got other team. So let's use what LA does best to fix this: Hollywood. So HBO, like there are rules about what teams can be a part of Hard Knocks or whatever, and these teams aren't on that list. And it was supposed to be the Steelers, so I'm a little bit butthurt about it. However, coronavirus and restrictions and stuff, there's a lot of other factors at play, acknowledged. But how perfect is it that LA got to be LA and take these teams and help project the Chargers into this positive light so that football fans might latch on to the Chargers and fill out their stadium again? Because it feels like the Rams are going to have that built-in fan base just from the legacy alone. But the Chargers needed something. And here we are. And I'm in complete agreement with everything everyone has said. I have a hard time telling the colors apart when they jump from camp to camp. However, I'm always more excited when it's like Tyrod Taylor and the Chargers camp, and we're working with Joey Bosa and everyone. That feels good. Maybe this is the solution. At least they gave him a platform.
Well, they even went a little bit further, I guess. I mean, and I know, Matt, you just mentioned it, and Teddy, but it was, you could say that one team is definitely Hollywood, and then the other team is definitely the blue collar. I mean, it's just much more just football and like less show, more go. But man, if they were so successful in painting Jared Goff like a douche with that golf course and like in his backyard, the golf, like it's so.
Can we talk about that for a second? Like, do you guys remember that scene? There were 3 people total in that scene. One being Jared Goff, the other was his girlfriend, and the other was another guy who was labeled as roommate.
Mhm.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, go and check it out because let's talk about a mid-20 something millionaire who has a guy roommate.
I can't handle my girl. Like I can't listen to her. So could you move in and maybe just listen to her for me? 'Cause
Okay, look, that was weird. Okay, I'm surprised
a
that didn't,
weirdo.
like, I don't know. But one thing I would like to comment on to both of your guys' points, Teddy and Connor. The Chargers are a football team. The Rams are just stars. I mean, you got Aaron Donald there, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, right? The Chargers, and to your point, Ted, the Chargers had a hard time filling seats last year, and this has made me a fan of the Chargers. I'm a Falcons fan at heart, you guys know that, but I'm also a bigger fan of football, and I am in love with the Chargers right now. This may be one of the best storylines that I've seen out of a Hard Knocks, being the LA Chargers. How it opened, Hard Knocks, was one of the greater openings that I've seen. You just have your wide receiver coach being like, you need to fucking block. If you don't fucking block, you're not going to be on this team. I don't care. And the best part was it was reiterated even up to the head coach. Even Anthony Lynn pulled the one receiver aside, number 15, who I don't know, probably won't make the team, but he goes, hey man, you need to fucking block. Otherwise I'm not even going to fucking play you. And then on the phone, 20 minutes later in the show, yeah, this guy doesn't block. Like, I just don't get it. What's with him? The same sentiment from the head coach to the other coaches, the subordinates, is just being reverberated. And that's when you can tell that you have a really good coaching staff in place. And the Chargers are a great football team. And I'm so excited to watch them this year.
And don't forget that Keenan Allen blocks. Keenan Allen is the best
Keenan
player.
Allen blocks, and also one of the best route runners in the NFL. So
yeah. I don't think it's so conspiratorial to say that the NFL, maybe like when you go down the path, it's a little bit conspiratorial. But to say that the NFL wanted to promote LA because, like Mike said, 70% of their games against the Steelers and Packers were filled with Packers and Steelers fans. So there definitely was an effort or an impetus to get them on Hard Knocks and expose them to a broader audience.
But they can't.
Yeah, maybe it was to put LA on a platform, but to make the Chargers win it.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Like you can't change like the DNA, like the makeup of that city though. Like the real sports markets, like the real, like with 4 core sports, it's like New York, Chicago, Boston, Philly, that like care about all those teams. Now, I mean, they might not have all the core sports, but like Pittsburgh loves the. I mean, they live for the Steelers and they love the Penguins. They support their. It's a great sports town. LA, they show up late and they leave early. That's it. Like they don't give a shit about, like, they might talk about the Dodgers all the time, but they don't support that team that well. And I was actually taken aback that they gave them such a nice facility, because I've been to games in LA for the Dodgers, and I've also been to see the Padres play in San Diego. And you want to talk about a bunch of savages who really don't give a shit about the game. But I mean, like, the people that go to those games and like just literally are just looking for like a fight. Like I saw the Padres play the Athletics. Both teams were in the cellar. Dog shit game. Couldn't have meant anything. And literally just dudes were like walking around like, yo, Oakland, like, piss on that guy. Like, just like crazy stuff. And like, I literally thought people were going to get killed. And I was like, wow, I didn't get this vibe at a Red Sox Yankees game, like where like guys were going to get the shit kicked out of them over like for nothing. So I was surprised to look at the Palace they're about to play in and be like, oh, nobody from like any of the like relevant neighborhoods in LA are going to come to these games. It's just going to be the people that can afford, they can afford to buy a box as well as a whole section of the stadium to put, like, which is
it's going to be a Beverly Hills playground, a thing to do before you cut out the Johnny Depp's party.
Winning is what they care about in LA. That's why USC and the Lakers have the biggest followings in Los Angeles. And if the Rams or Chargers start to win a bunch, there's going to be a bandwagon.
They're on board. It's just like the Clippers. There were no Clippers fans, but now all of a sudden you're seeing them pop up.
Yep.
So,
which is fair, I guess.
Yeah,
the teams are more exciting when they win.
They're fair
I
weather fans in
understand, like,
LA.
if you're a transplant, which predominantly people that are in the position to go watch games there are, like, why would you go see a game if the team sucks? You know what I mean? Like, if you're a transplant
100%.
and you're gonna change in, like, your allegiance or something, that's probably gonna be for a winner. But I don't respect that. Fuck that. And I think LA is a shit sports town. So anyway,
Positive note to end on.
I will be rooting for the Chargers over the Rams. Anyway, guys, it was another fun week. I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to add, but had a lot of fun.
Happy draft week, guys. Can't wait.
Yep.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. A few days now, boys.
Sorry to throw off the vibe, but I do want to add one thing because
Yeah.
it was something I omitted from my AFC North speak minute. I have this like weird sneaky suspicion that Joe Burrow is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dude.
I do have some fears of the Bengals offensive line and their ability to allow him to flourish. But like, I just have this panic attack every now and then that just like, oh my God, like the consensus first overall draft pick, heady guy, set all kinds of records. Like, I'm thinking Peyton Manning, and not to like overset his ceiling, but like, I am nervous about him. Am I being crazy? Will
No.
he get demolished and have no opportunity to flourish, or what?
No, I had the same thought this week watching some clips of Joe Burrow from training camp. He looks like he's a veteran. The way that he moves in the pocket, even in drills, you can just tell that he's totally in control. He's totally like, he's so quick in that small space, and then he can just fling it, and he's so accurate. He has super arm strength and he has super accuracy, and then you throw in all the receivers that the Bengals have, and they're going to be able to build that team while he's on his rookie contract. Yeah, I would be very afraid of Joe Burrow if I was in the AFC, because I think he's the real deal.
Joe Burrow is definitely the real deal, and you're seeing that in camp. Despite, I mean, there's that one clip of him running away from the entire defensive line, but that's just one thing. But Joe is so good on the scramble, and he's so good at finding the open man. Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions as a rookie. I don't think Joe Burrow will throw as many, but I think he could have a very similar career to Peyton Manning. Maybe not breaking all those records. Who knows? He's only a rookie. But, God, I mean, you got to be enamored by the kid, his leadership that you see coming out of there, and some of the throws that he makes.
Dude.
It's going to be interesting.
Kid's got jam. I like what I see. He's got
Even
everything.
if he takes the first 5 years of Peyton Manning's career, like that's scary. That's a thing I have to worry about. That's yeah. Sorry, Connor.
No, not at all. I've just been that's one of those teams I got my eye on. I just watching that guy play against the best college had to offer and just smoking them. I mean, the other kid, Lawrence, I got to give that kid credit too, coming out of Clemson. I think he's going to be another one but I don't know if he's got the stuff between the ears like Joe Burrow does, just to like, I don't know if he's got this, like the ego strength. I mean, Burrow is the kind of kid that bounced around, was kind of dejected from, going from Ohio State to LSU, finally getting an opportunity and really putting up when it came time to. So I really like that guy, but I don't know. This was the year for Joe, and then the next year, the following year, could be the year for Lawrence. There's some really exciting quarterbacks coming out, and maybe the Jets. I'm just kidding. The Jets won't get them, but
this is one last thing. Sorry, okay. One last thing, and just going back to the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing, which based on what you were just talking about, Connor, LSU's like number one offense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not make that a number one offense. It was Joe Burrow who made that offense what it was. It was Joe Burrow distributing the ball, making the throws, making all these players look good. Yeah, Justin Jefferson is great. Yeah, Suh is great. Yeah, Jamar Chase is really great. Yeah, Thaddeus Moss is really great. But it is Joe Burrow who is behind this, okay? And just touching on Clyde Edwards-Helaire to end out the show, people get so enamored because, and Matt and I were talking about this. People get so enamored because he was on the NCAA's number one offense and he put up big numbers. Now he goes to the NFL's number one offense. So you just assume that he's going to put up big numbers. Yes, he's going to put up numbers. Okay, we know that's going to happen just based on the role that he's in and the volume that he's going to get. but temper your expectations. Okay. This guy is not Adrian Peterson. Okay. He's not Emmitt Smith. He's not Kareem Hunt. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right, sports fans. Well, it's been a hell of a week. We'll get back with some more content, I'm sure, from the draft that is about to ensue in a couple days. Check us out on Instagram. Mike's putting out a lot of just, incredible content. So definitely give a like there, give a share, and subscribe over there. So this has been the Finest Sports Football Happy Hour. Until next week, guys.
Yeah.
Later.
Adios, muchachos.